Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, friends. Today I am going to take a seminar on framing instructional objectives of teaching mathematics and behavioral term. First, let we see synapses. What is subjective? Introduction. What is instructional objective? Definition of instructional objective. Instructional objective. Need for instructional objective. Criteria for writing instructional objectives. Steps for preparing instructional objective. General instructional objective. Specific instructional objective. Conclusion. Reference. First, let me see what is objectives. Objective means it refers to expected or intended student outcomes. It is a specific knowledge, skills, or attitudes that students are expected to achieve through that learning experience. For example, the students is able to explain theorems in mathematics, or the student is able to uh, post classify postulates, axioms, and theorems in mathematics, or the students is able to discriminate among mathematical terms, concepts, symbols, principles, generalizations, etc. These are the examples of objectives. Next, we see some important points of objectives. It is directed towards aims. It is a short-term goals. It is attainable within the educational system. It steps towards the realization of the aims. It may be specific, precise, and observable. It varies from course to course, and then it's specific for each course. Originate from the aims. Next, introduction. We see the introductions of this instructional objective. The instructional objectives are based on Bloom's taxonomy of objective. Bloom's taxonomy was created in 1956 under the leadership of educational psychologist Dr. Benjamin Bloom in order to promote higher forms of thinking in education, such as analyzing and evaluating concepts, processes, procedures, and principles rather than just remembering facts. Next, next we are moving on to our topic, instructional objective. What is instructional objective? Instructional objective means the specification of what learners will be able to do at the end of the instruction. Definition of instructional objective. Instructional objective are statements which communicate in behavioral terms the expected performance of the students at the end of the instruction. Next, instructional objective means it is based on a specific observable, and then it is behavioral in nature. It is also a measurable in goal. Establishes the minimal level of attainment for judgment. Instructional objectives state both behavior is intended to be developed curricular aspects and what actual behavior is developed and tested evaluation aspects. And then next we see about instructional objectives. To start teaching, teacher has to teach the content. The teacher must be guided by the instructional objectives, and she follow strategies and tools to accomplish the task, and then evaluate the outcomes. Objective means it is a desired outcomes of learning. And next we see purpose of instructional objectives. Defining the intent of an educational plan, helping teachers to plan necessary to achieve plan, helping students to know what is expected of them at the end of the program, and then helping teachers, administrators, and society to access the products of the system. Statement that describe the teacher's intent about how students should change. And then general instruction objective means it is followed by a sample of specific behavior, and teaching may be directed towards achievements. Specific objective follow tested and testing and assessment only. And need for instructional objectives. Need for instructional objective. It is specify what the student should learn to do. The objective serve as signpost to the students. It may be provide a direction to the teacher in the selection of the most effective instructional methods and media and resource materials to be used during instruction. whether in order to promote to attain the stated objectives, and it may be provide guidance to the question paper setter for the evaluating students achievements, and it help the students, the instructor choose appropriate instructional and learning strategies. It help focus attention on important task and information. And then criteria for writing instructional objective. Teacher has to use action verbs to specify student behavior. Keep statements short and focused on a single outcome. And then next, explain expectation for student behavior, performance, and understanding. Next, use specific terminology that has limited interpretation to ensure that all the students understand the same interpretation. Steps for preparing instructional objective: identifying the general instructional objectives, stating the general instructional objectives, defining the general objectives, stating specific objectives. And instructional objectives should be smart, which means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time based. Instructional objective should depend on these five things only. It may be specific, and it is measured, it is easily to measurable, and it is attainable, it relevant to the content, and it focus on time based. These five things include instructional objective. Without these, there will the instructional objective is not effective. And then Groundland 1970 suggested the two level of objectives. The two level are general instructional objectives, specific instructional objectives, or specific behavioral objectives. Let me see one by one. General instructional objectives. A general instructional objective means it is a non-behavioral objectives, and statement contain verb like knows, understand, etc. And which means it acquires knowledge of facts, concepts, theories, and principle. It should develop the ability to communicate mathematical ideas with precision. It should develop interest and positive attitude. Students should apply mathematical knowledge to solve their real life problems. Which means the pupil understand the polynomial division, or the pupil knows the place value of the binary numbers, or example for non-behavioral objectives. Understanding means by the student, or acquisition of knowledge. Case by the student cannot be observed by the teacher, therefore they are not observable behavior. Non-observable means student cannot be observed by the teacher. And then non-behavioral objective means student should observe only by the teacher. These are these two difference. Non-behavioral, students should observe the teachers only. Non-observable, students cannot observe the teachers. And then we see some example. The pupil acquire knowledge of polynomial multiplication. The pupil understand the meaning of the term polynomial. The pupil applies the formula to find the area of a given triangle. I'll mention only three examples. There are a lot of examples. For example, the pupil acquires knowledge of mathematical terms, facts, concepts, principles, theorems, etc. And the pupil should apply mathematical principles to new and unfamiliar situation. The pupil understand the meaning of mathematical facts, terms, etc. These are all the example for GAO. Next, moving on to specific instructional objective. Specific instructional objective which are precise and measurable. And then it is a which are precise and also a measurable. Okay. Then next, it is a short term immediate goal that are achieved through classroom purpose only, and it is also known as the instructional objective, which means SOL, specific instructional objective, specific outcomes of learning, consist of statements defining the specific performance which are precise and measurable. And these objectives are also known as behavioral objectives, as the statement of these objectives contain action verb which displays an overt behavior of the learner. The pupil explains the polynomial division, or the pupil states the properties of binary additions, or the behavioral objectives. Next examples. The pupil recall the formula for area of equilateral triangle. The pupil selects an appropriate method to solve the given problem. The pupil lists the properties of an equilateral triangle. The pupil state Pythagoras theorem. And a lot of examples. The key point is recall, recognize, selects, list, state, classifies, reason, gives, establishes, formulates, selects. These are all the important points to write the examples, which means these are the action required, action verb. These are the action verb. Without these, the sentence is not sentence will be incomplete. Next, five elements in writing specific objectives, that are performer. Performer means the student, the trainer, the learner, which means the pupil. An action required, we see the previous example. Recalls, recognizes, determines, classifies, gives, establishes, formulates. These are all the action required verbs. Task means compare the properties and solve the problem. Properties of triangle, these are all the task. Conditions means it will gives a full sentence, which means compare the property of a given triangle, compare the set inductions and set language. These are all the conditions. Criteria for judgment, any relevant criteria for clarity. Example explains the phenomena with at least two examples, which means computers with speed and accuracy. And then finally, conclusion. Instructional objectives guides the remaining steps in planning a lessons. No lessons can be effective without effective. Without these, there will be no instructional objective. We can't write these instructional objectives, and you don't know where you are going. You have no means to determine how to get there, which means we are using these objectives only. We have to write a lesson, which means we have to write a general instructional objective, specific instruction objective. We don't know these things, we can't write these instruction objectives. And these are my references. Thank you, ma'am.